Hey, I want to thank you so much for being here. If this is your first time listening or watching, or you've been on every episode, I want to thank you for being here. Before we jump into the show, I want to ask a favor of all of you. If you find value, if you find that this helps you in any way, shape, or form, please share the show with someone you care about, someone that needs to hear about this. We want our community healthier, happier, and have an abundant lifestyle. So let's jump right into the show. Welcome to the Human Powered Life Podcast. I'm Dr. Josh Handt, and this is the Chiropractic Edition. We have an amazing guest today. It's Dr. Tim Young. So let me tell you a little bit about him before we bring him on. Dr. Tim Young was born and raised in Springfield, Missouri. After graduating in 1994 from Cleveland Chiropractic School in Kansas City, Missouri, Dr. Young and his family relocated to Oklahoma City, where he began his own practice, Young Chiropractic. Dr. Young is the founder and past president of the Oklahoma Chiropractors Association, founder and president of the National Chiropractic Seminar, Focus OKC, founder and president of Focus Foundations. He travels the world teaching his Focus Chiropractic Mastery program that emphasizes specific adjusting techniques and patient connection. Along with running one of the most successful chiropractic offices in the nation, Dr. Young excels in maintaining a balanced life and keeps his family his first priority. I love that. Along his side, his wife, Shannon, 3 children, Ashley, Alicia, and Ariane, and grandsons. Man, you're too young to be a grandfather, man. Grandsons, Copeland and Quinn Rye, and granddaughter, Swayze June. Dr. Young maintains a mission to serve his community, patients, and his profession with love, compassion, and gratitude. Dr. Tim Young, man, I am so pumped. You are a power to be reckoned with in the profession, so I'm so grateful you get to be here to share your truths with our audience.
I'm truly honored to have this time. I appreciate you having me on. It really means a lot to me.
It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to our audience, because this is initially we were heard in over 53 countries. This is really focused down into the US, but it will be going everywhere. So what we've done is we scoured the internet, we scoured artificial intelligence and found the most common things people are looking for. So we're going to dive into 10 simple questions that I'm sure you're going to have amazing answers for. So here we go. First one, the most common question is this: what is chiropractic care? And that could potentially answer a bunch.
that could be a whole segment within itself. Chiropractic care is a principle. Chiropractic care is a human principle based on human physiology. Now, there are 3 aspects of it. We could get into the philosophy of it, we could get into the science of it, and we can get into the art of it. But in a nutshell, for the public, for this, the person walking down the street that really doesn't want to be educated, if they wanted to be truly educated, they'd have went to school. But just for your normal person walking down the street, walking in your office, what is chiropractic? It is a way to allow the body to function normally with the rules of physiology. And physiology is simply the way the body functions. But the best and easiest description is, if you get hot, you will sweat. That is human physiology. If you lift a heavy weight, your body reacts to that. It adapts to the stress, human physiology. So what chiropractic does, it works with human physiology to allow the proper joint motion and expression of life. It relieves stress and tension from the nervous system so the brain can communicate to the tissue cell. In a nutshell, chiropractic allows the body to function normally.
That's great. And then this leads into the second question, because that's the first one. Then what is a chiropractic adjustment?
The chiropractic adjustment is a specific intentional motion that introduces motion into a vertebral joint, a vertebral joint, to introduce motion into that area that has not been moving. The lack of proper motion within the spine caused by repetitive injury, or one big injury, a car accident, a fall, whatever it may be, will cause stress in the joint to restrict the motion. The chiropractic adjustment introduces motion and maintains motion into the joint long enough to allow for that joint to actually heal.
I love that, straight and concise to the point. So the third most common question is, well, Doc, what conditions do chiropractors care for?
Okay, this really gets out there. So I'm going to break it down this way. Chiropractic does not treat any condition at all. There is no condition. I will tell you in my office, and I've been in practice 30 years in a couple months, and I have seen people come into my office with every condition that you can name. I did not treat one of those conditions. What I did was I restored motion in the joint. I removed interference and allowed the brain to communicate and allowed the body to treat that condition. So chiropractors don't treat conditions. What we do is we remove interference. We remove any obstacle that will not allow or impede the body to heal itself. Very simply to put it in perspective, if you have a cut on your arm, the body will heal that cut, right? If you have a cut in your arm and you take your finger and stick it in the hole, the body will not heal that cut. There's an interference. Take the finger out, it will heal. What we do is we remove the interference and allow the inborn, innate, natural healing ability that was God given to us to express. And then that's what does the healing of the condition.
That's so powerful. So that the intelligence inside is the master controller, right? We're just setting it free. I think that's powerful. For those that are listening, I know you've probably now heard this a couple times. It is magic what happens in chiropractor's office. If you've never been and you went to Dr. Tim Young's office or came to my office or any of the other docs we've had on the show, you would see amazing things happen because people may not be coming in for something, so to say, but they're going to leave happy, excited for life. But if they are coming in with a condition or something, they usually start to heal from that at the inside out. And it's quite miraculous. And I've been practiced since 2006. And what I've seen is amazing. And I can't even imagine what you've seen.
Oh, I've got, we could do an entire podcast on the stories in my office. And so after 30 years, I still go into that office and I still expect to see the miracles because I understand where the miracle actually comes from. It's within, and it's a beautiful thing to witness.
Yeah, that is amazing. So let's jump into the next one. And this one seems to be a hot one for all the docs we're talking with. What makes chiropractic inherently safe?
It goes back to the first thing I said earlier. We're working with the rules, the laws of human physiology. It's the safest, if it's the safest approach to healthcare that there is, because we're not tricking, we're not poisoning, we're not cutting, we're not burning, we're not manipulating health. We are allowing the expression of health. So it's crazy to think that it's dangerous. Now, the danger can come in with the abnormal application of chiropractic. If it's not taught and introduced appropriately, then it can cause problems. No different than going to the gym and working out is safe. Go to the gym and work out improperly, bad form, too much weight, whatever, then yes, can you hurt yourself? Absolutely. But millions of people go to the gym and they don't worry about hurting themselves. But I know people who went to the gym and literally broke their backs because they put too much weight on a squat rack. They put their feet on a board and they fell forwards. That's silly. Squatting doesn't cause injury. Improper squatting causes injury. Chiropractic never causes injury, ever. Improper application of chiropractic is the only thing that's ever caused an injury.
Oh, that's so powerful. And I love that metaphor. I have not heard that one yet. The improper application. That's really amazing. And you're 30 years. My father's been practicing since 1978. And yeah, we don't see things in our practice that are bad. I don't know how many thousands of people he's adjusted or tens of thousands. But yeah, it's quite wild that people think it might be unsafe.
One of our giants in chiropractic, Clarence Gonstead, but for the public, Clarence Gonstead was an icon, or he is an icon in a profession. He created the Gonstead technique. He is considered to be one of the most brilliant minds within all the 125 plus years of chiropractic. And he made this comment, which I love and I believe. Chiropractic always works. If it doesn't work, don't blame chiropractic, blame the application of it. So the chiropractor is not paying attention or they're in the wrong area, but the principle behind what we do is safe and always is effective, always.
Yeah. So I know a lot of these questions are going to roll into each other and we're going to bounce around. The next one is, And I know you're going to have an awesome answer for this one, just knowing where we're going so far. How does chiropractic care differ from other medical treatments? I'm not a big fan of the word treatment. I know you're probably not either, but how does it really differ?
The number one thing is and I use this analogy in my office all the time. I'll use this and I'll break it down. If you're sitting, if you're sitting in your couch and you're watching Netflix, you're watching a movie, and you've put something in the kitchen on the stove to simmer. Well, while you're sitting there watching TV, your pot boiled over and it caught the stove on fire and your smoke alarm goes off. Now, medicine will go in and unplug the smoke alarm and go sit back down. Chiropractic will go in and put the fire out. So the difference between chiropractic and all of the therapies, chiropractic is only interested in the cause of the problem. We do not treat pain. Matter of fact, I tell my patients in the office, I'm not concerned with how you feel. I'm not concerned with your pain. I'm not concerned with how you feel. If that's all I cared about, if the only thing I cared about is how you felt, I would give you 2 Advil and a shot of tequila and send you home, right?
Yeah.
As a chiropractor, I am concerned with what's causing how you feel, because that cause is your brain's way of telling us we have an issue. It is the smoke alarm telling us we have a fire. So chiropractic is only concerned with function and the appropriate expression of health. Medicine is only concerned with pain control and symptom control. So that is the biggest difference. And here's what's great is patients, people know this. That's why they go to the chiropractor, because we hear it. You and I hear this every day. I've been to my medical doctor and I'm tired of taking drugs. I want to know what's going on. That's the difference.
Yeah, I've heard this and I've liked using the phrase, people go, you're my last resort. I think
Mm-hmm.
hopefully in my lifetime, in your lifetime, we may become the first resort so then we don't have to go to that other resort, if you will, because we're in this unbelievable crisis in health, and especially in the United States. And I truly believe that chiropractors are going to be that the tip of the spear that's going to wake the country up, that's going to help people in just such a profound way that they use medicine as an emergency, not as a first line of offense.
As was intended to. To your point, I laugh. I've made a joke for years that I'm going to change the name of my clinic. I'm going to change it to End of the Rope Chiropractic Clinic, because by the
Yeah.
time they get to you, you're at the end of the rope. I want everybody to listen. While we're on this point, quickly, just think about this. If you have a tooth that is killing you and it hurts, you have a symptom, and you go to the dentist, and the dentist simply gave you muscle relaxers and pain pills and sent you home, you would be upset. You'd be really upset, because if there's a problem, fix my tooth. But what's interesting is we'll go to your medical doctor with pain, and they give you muscle relaxers and pain pills and send you home, and you think that's
Mm.
okay,
Ooh, that's a
right?
good one.
It's contradictory. It's contradictory in the thought. Now, I want really quick, and I know I don't want to take all the time, but I have a patient that's an ER doctor, and I told the ER doctor, I said, you do realize that you and I do the same thing. And he looked at me really funny. He said, okay, you got me on this one, doc. And I said, think about this. Somebody comes in and let's say they accidentally shot themselves, right? They shot themselves in the foot. Your job is to remove the bullet, clean it, and sew it up. And then you are then done, aren't you? And he was confused. He thought I was tricking him. He goes, yeah. I said, once you remove the interference, then the body will heal that foot. Yes. Yes. I do the same thing. So medical doctors in an ER setting, broken bone, they set the bone so it can heal. They have a cut, they sew it together so it can heal. They remove an interference to allow the body to heal. We do the same thing. We do the same thing. That's different than your medical doctor that I have an ache and pain. Take this so you don't feel it. I have high blood pressure. Take this so you don't know it. That's the difference in chiropractic.
Yeah, and I think you and I probably would agree that that is one of the leading causes of health issues in the world, but especially in the U.S. We're not you and I, but people are taking medications, and I oftentimes people will put on a case history that fill out in 10, 12, 15 different medications, and often I'll ask, I go, do any of your doctors talk to each other? Oh no, they're all from different doctors. Oh, it blows my mind.
Medicine here's the thing. This is something that Palmer, one of the first chiropractors, said this: medicine The medicine is concerned with what makes people die. Chiropractic is what makes them live. Medicine, here's what people understand. Medicine is concerned with making money, not with health. I don't know this is someone you may want to have on this podcast sometime. Dr. Jack Wolfson.
Jeff,
I don't
no.
know Jack.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of mine. For those of you that don't know, he's a cardiologist, and he married a chiropractor, and she set him straight. But he told me his story that before he knew the truth, he worked in this clinic, and they had all these heart patients, and they prescribed medications, and they did all these things. And his father died of heart disease, and he was a DO heart surgeon. Now, Dr. Wolfson was sick. He was dying. And he had all kinds of diseases. He was in horrible shape. Met a chiropractor. She got him lined up. When he went into his clinic, started taking them off medications, changed their diets, got them exercising, and started removing their conditions. He gets called in to the administrative office of the hospital, the clinic that he worked at, and they told him word for word, "We are not in the business of getting them. We are in the business of making money. You need to stop."
Mm-hmm.
And he quit and opened his own clinic. I want everybody listening to this to think about what I just said. They are not in the business of getting you well. Medicine is not in the business of getting you well. They're in the business of business. Chiropractors, we're in the business of allowing the expression of life. And as long as we can remove interference, you will express life at a greater level. That's what we're interested in.
Yeah, 100% of the time. 100% of the time. I
Yes.
love that. So the next one, I'm going to preface, but the question is, what can I expect during a chiropractic visit? And I want to fast forward. I want to get beyond the first visit and the second visit, because I know we all do things a little differently that way. So if Mary's coming in, she's on her third, fourth, fifth visit. What does that look like? What can they expect?
Here's the thing. This is why I have my own coaching group, and this is what I spend a majority of time working with hundreds and hundreds of chiropractors in 25 different countries now. This is what I teach, and this is what you should expect. You should expect the exact same thing as the adjustment and the visit previously. And in 10 visits from now, it should be the exact same thing, because you have a specific mission. When you come in, the doctor should be focused and should be intentional and should have a direct goal, a direct understanding of where they're going to lay their hands and the direction and the force and the speed and the line of drive at which they're going to adjust you. And it needs to be in the exact same place at the exact same velocity in order to restore the motion in the area that has the most stress. No different if you broke your arm as a patient and you put your arm in a cast. After about 8 or 9 weeks, when you take the cast off, the arm will atrophy, and it will be weak and it will be stiff because you haven't been moving it. In order to restore the proper health in your arm, you have to move it. Now, if you move it once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, it'll restore. If you only moved it once a week and then you did leg extensions the rest of the time, or you worked your left shoulder, this arm is not going to heal. And so you have to understand, we're working with the laws of physiology. So what to expect when you come in is your doctor, your chiropractor should be intentional, which means he has a direct purpose for why he's adjusting you. It should be specific on the exact vertebra in your spine that needs to be moved, and it needs to be focused where he's paying attention. He's not talking. If your chiropractor is talking while he's adjusting you, he's not paying attention. He should be focused on what he's doing. In my office, I will see sometimes 80 to 100 people in 3 hours. And that might sound crazy to some people, but you have to ask yourself the question, why do they all show up? Because they come to me for what we're talking about, for a specific intentional chiropractic adjustment, not for conversation. So if your chiropractor is spending a minute adjusting you, but 15 minutes talking to you about the football game or about the election or about this, he's not paying attention. So in my opinion, this is what we're talking about. In my years of experience as a patient, when you go in to get an adjustment, you should expect on your 3rd visit, 5th visit, 30th visit, that your chiropractor is paying attention to you and why you came. That's what I believe.
That's great. That's great. Then this will roll into the next, which you line this up perfectly, into the next question. How many sessions will I need, Doc?
Okay, so I'm glad we're asking this. So again, we're going to go back to human physiology, and I'm going to explain it to the public the same way I explain it to my patients in the office. So when you go see your chiropractor, he's going to take a set of x-rays. He should take a set of x-rays, and they're going to look at your spine, and they're going to determine where the stress is. And you can see it. You can see the bone changes. You can see rotations. You can see misalignments. You can see degeneration caused by stress. Whatever analysis they use, they're going to determine which vertebra in your spine is not moving appropriately. Now, here's the thing. How long has that condition been there? No one knows. Nobody knows. You could have had a bike wreck at 15 years old and created a whiplash in your neck that didn't show up until you were 40. I see it all the time. Or you could have did it 5 years ago on a slipping on some ice. Or you could be like a lot of people every day, they sit at a computer like this with bad posture and over a long period of time create it. It's hard to know, but here's what we do know. And this is what I want you guys to think about. Getting an adjustment is restoring motion, putting motion in an area that has not been moving appropriately. That's in a very simple physiological definition. We are putting movement in an area that has not been moving to allow that motion to allow strength and healing. Just like going to the gym and working out. If you want your body healthy and you want to get it in shape, you will go to the gym and you will move it. You will use weights, you will do cardio, whatever it is, you're going to put your body in motion. Now, you cannot put your body in motion once a month and expect any change. You don't go work out on the first of every month and look in the mirror and go, I got this. It just doesn't happen. So all of us listening to this right now, all of you all understand that minimum, if in the beginning, if you start going to the gym in the beginning, you are going to work out at least 3 days a week, at least 3 days a week. That's a minimum. In my office, I start my patients out 3 days a week. Physiologically, that's the greatest response I get. Now, what we all have to understand is chiropractic is interested in healing, being healthy and strong. So you all think about this. Let's go back to the broken arm again. If you break an arm, how long will it take for that bone to heal? Approximately 8 weeks. Children are 6, older people are 12. We're working with averages because there's no way to know. So 3 times a week for approximately 8 weeks is what I put almost every patient I have on in the beginning. Now, that is going to stabilize. That's going to get this area strong. That's going to restore that motion. But I want you all to think about something. If you put braces on your teeth and you wear those braces because you have a little crooked bone in your mouth and you wear those braces for 3 to 5 years, every day you wear those braces 3 to 5 years. When you take those braces off, now what do? You put a retainer on. If you don't put the retainer on, the tissue in your mouth has memory and those teeth will go right back to their old position. So you wear a retainer. When we adjust the spine, muscles, tendons, ligaments, joint capsules, discs, all that soft tissue has memory. And so we call these retainer visits. Then what I'll do is I'll adjust my patients once a week for approximately 2 months, 6 to 8 weeks, once a week. And I call them retainer visits. We maintain it, we maintain it, we maintain it. Once we get through about 16 weeks worth of care, that is a great healing process. And now everybody's different. This isn't cookie cut. You have a 70-year-old that's had a condition for 40 years. We got a different ball game here. But on an average, 16 weeks. Then the most important thing about all of this is that you've got to understand. I'm speaking of physiology again. These aren't my rules. I didn't make these things up. These are God's rules. This is how the body was created. If you go to the gym for 16 weeks and you work out and now you're strong, you're healthy, you feel great, quit working out. Just eat like crap and quit working out. What will happen? You will lose everything immediately. You lose it faster than you gained it. Your spine is exactly the same way. If you quit getting adjusted, your spine will go back the same way because what we have is called universal stresses. Universal stress. Gravity is a universal stress. If you don't believe me, take your arm, hold it out for an hour. How heavy will that arm get? That's what's happening to us. Posture is a stress. The way we sleep, the way we drive our cars, turn, twist, bend, lift, all the crazy things we do are stresses. So in my practice, I have patients that have been coming to see me every 2 weeks for almost now 30 years. 30 years, 20 to 30. I've got tons of them. I have babies that I adjusted the day they were born, bringing their children to me now
How
after
cool
all
is
these
that?
years. And it's beautiful. And so they never quit. So then it goes to twice a month. And think about this. If you can get an adjustment twice a month, that's 24 adjustments a year out of 365 days. And we maintain motion and help keep you healthy. We have pulled off a miracle. If there was a drug that could do that, it would be worth $10,000 a pill.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But we are working with the laws of physiology. So you ask the question, how long will it take? How long does it take to heal? I just gave you the physiological principle, the physiological laws average that I work and practice with. And that's why my patients are so successful and my practice is so successful.
Are you tired of feeling stuck, low energy, stubborn weight, and endless fatigue? Teammate Wellness is here to help. Our bioactive precision peptides are backed by cutting-edge science to support your metabolism, boost energy, and improve muscle recovery. These peptides communicate with your body's innate wisdom to unlock better health and vitality. Stop settling and start thriving today. Visit lifestylelocker.com/peptides to learn more and take the first step towards your transformation. Once again, that's lifestylelocker.com/peptides. Now back to the show. Let me ask you this. This is not one of the questions, but this I think is important. 30 years in practice, taking x-rays. What is it, 18 years for me at this point, taking x-rays on almost every single patient that comes in the office, unless it's a newborn, right? I am seeing a pattern, and you may see this pattern as well, especially in the we call cervical x-ray, but that's the side view of the neck x-ray that we all take. I am starting to see significant degeneration in kids as young as 10 and 11 years old in their neck.
Absolutely.
You are too.
On the fifth cervical.
Yes. Yep.
I guarantee you're seeing it almost always on C5, the fifth cervical.
Yep.
And if you look at C5 and you also look at T3, T4 and the mid-thoracic, it's all posture. It's all posture. What's happening is that head is down and the shoulders are rolled forward and that gravity is pushing down. Mm-hmm. See, what everybody needs to understand is God created us perfect. He didn't make any mistakes. And we have three curves in our spine. We have a cervical curve, a thoracic curve, and a lumbar curve. Then we have bend in our knees and we have arches in our feet. The curves and the arches are designed to compensate and to offset gravity and weight. And when we take the curves out of it, it's like taking the shock absorbers out of your car and just putting steel rods in. Yeah. You're wearing that front end out. It's exactly what's going on with our spines because and that degeneration is what that is. That's restricted joint motion. So yes, sir, I see it just the same way you do all the time.
Yeah, it's blowing my mind, and it's technology. We're on this right now. This conversation can be a blessing and a curse at the same time.
They say right now, that's even not just chiropractors, but the entire health world is saying that posture is the new smoking. Yeah, and here's what people need to understand is that bad posture, that forward head tilt, and that degeneration, and that stress, and what we call the CT junction, the cervical thoracic junction. That stress also stresses the nerve supply to your heart, your lungs, and your diaphragm. So and then all of a sudden, we're going to start having breathing problems. We're going to have heart problems. We're going to have all these energy problems, all these different conditions. And so here's the thing. What would medicine do? If you got a breathing problem, take this. If you got a heart problem, take this. You have all these problems, take this. What does chiropractic do? Sit up straight, get your computers up, and put motion back in the spine and restore the proper function of those areas.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I read this years ago, and I wish I could remember where I saw it. I'm going to have to find it. It was on posture and actually the cervical neck, the curve. People that lose that curve, and it's a certain amount of degrees that they put in the research article, it says you can diminish your lifespan by 15 years.
I think I saw that same thing. I saw it at Cal Gym one year, and I know the doctor that did that, but yeah, there's one of the posture analysis chiropractors. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but yeah, I saw that same thing.
Was it Dr. Deet Harris?
That's exactly what it was. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So everybody, your posture's incredibly powerful. And that's why I've been adjusted since birth. I've been blessed that I've been adjusted since day one. I'm 45 years old. I've only missed maybe, I'd say every single week. I've missed a week when I went to college and I knew better than everybody anyway. But then
Yeah.
I ended up getting, I don't know, it was mono or flu or something. I ended up driving 45 minutes each way multiple times a week while I was in college to see a chiropractor. Because I realized, I'm like, holy cow, I'm missing the boat here.
Yeah, I've been getting adjusted since the fourth grade. And I've got a miracle story for myself. That's what led me to chiropractic. But absolutely. And my kids, all of my kids have been adjusted. My grandkids, I adjusted all three of my grandkids at birth. Both my CAs have been with me 25 years. They've got two daughters apiece. Well, two of them are in college now. I adjusted all four of them at birth. This isn't just what we do, it's who we are.
Yeah, I love that you say that. And then now we've been talking about adjustments and how many times people got to come in. The next question that shows up is, and I've actually had this quite a handful of times, is are chiropractic adjustments painful?
No. Now, again, it goes back to the application and who's adjusting you. I cannot tell you how many times I've had patients come in and say that they swore they never see another chiropractor because they went and they heard him. But my sister or my mother or my coworker said to come see you. Listen, getting adjusted should never hurt if the application of the chiropractic adjustment is specific in the right way. And I teach this. But there are going to be times that there's arthritis or there's spasms or there's guarding that when you get an adjustment, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it during the adjustment simply because of the condition of the tissue. It shouldn't hurt any worse than it already does. If you come in with pain and you get an adjustment, it's going to hurt when you get adjusted. I've got patients, gosh, I can think of a million of them. Oh, this last week, two friends of mine, close friends of mine came in with lower back problems one was playing pickleball and one picked up something on a job site and they could barely walk. Well, when I adjusted them, of course it didn't feel good because they were already hurting, but immediately they could walk without a limp. All right. So it was like, we have to get through that. But the actual adjustment shouldn't hurt. Now, I got to preface this. Some question may be, should you have pain after the adjustment? I don't know if we're going to get to that, but I'm going to go ahead and address it.
You can answer that, but that's not on there. But yes.
Here's the thing with that. I'm going to go back to physiology. You're sitting at home and you have no pain, really. Go to the gym and work out really hard for the first time in a year. How will you feel the next day? Like you've been hit by a bus. So a lot of times when we make an adjustment, what that does is it removes the stress from the nervous system. Then the brain starts to send nerve signals into the tissue cell. A lot of times what that does is it pushes inflammation away from the area and it travels through the soft tissue. You will feel that. You will feel that. Increased motion in an area is going to create a physiological response, just like exercising for the first time. So if you have a bone in your neck that has been locked up for years and you get it adjusted, now it's moving, it's no different than you haven't lifted with your arms in years and now you do, you will feel that. So you have to understand that physiology behind it. Here's the problem is, this is one of the issues with chiropractic that has drove me crazy for years and years. You go to a bad mechanic, you go to a different mechanic. You go to a bad hairdresser, they mess your hair up, you find another hairdresser. You go to a bad dentist, he hurt you, he was inconsiderate, whatever, you find another dentist. But people will go to a bad chiropractor and all chiropractors are bad. You have to understand that every chiropractor is a different personality, a different skill level, a different technique level, a different philosophy, and you have to find one that resonates with you. So if you go to one and you feel like they weren't paying attention or they hurt you, don't write off chiropractic. Simply ask everybody at church, ask people, get a referral, and go to someone else and find the right one, because it's not chiropractic. It just may be that specific chiropractor.
That's great. I love that same analogy. If you go to the gym and squat, and it's maybe not breaking your back like you mentioned before, but you're god awful sore for 2 or 3 days after because you lifted the most weight you may have ever lifted, you're not going to give up squatting. That was awful. No. I'm going to not do that ever again.
No, and well, some people do.
Yeah, well, this is very true, right?
I tried working out and it just didn't work out for me.
Yeah, that's a really important point. What people will ask me is like, I'll give it a try. I go, what does that really mean? Do you try to brush your teeth? And if your teeth aren't perfect in 48 hours or a week, are you going to just quit?
And it goes back, and I use that analogy a lot. is that I have patients who will come in. I had one a couple of weeks ago, and I hadn't seen her in about a year. And I said, it's been about a year since you've been in. She goes, I haven't had any pain, doc. And I said, I understand. And I adjusted her and set her up. And I said, okay, I need you to do me a favor. And she said, what? She said, I said, I don't want you to brush your teeth at all. I want you to wait until they start hurting. When your teeth start hurting, then you can brush them. Okay.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me.
That, yeah.
She looked at me really funny. She goes, I get it. When do I need to be back? I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And she showed up. So it's the same principle, right? People, you can't wait until you feel pain to try to correct it. It's like this. I will wait until I get in shape, then I'll join the gym. I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the reverse application, right?
Exactly. Yes.
All right, cool. So then let's jump to the next one, because this is a good flow here. Can chiropractic care prevent future health issues?
Absolutely. I love that question. No different than, can eating healthy prevent health conditions? Yes. Can exercising regularly prevent health conditions? Yes. Can drinking more water prevent health conditions? Yes. All those things are yes. Why? Why can eating healthy, drinking more water, exercising, getting more air? Because physiologically, the way the body functions, those are the things, those are the nutrients, those are the motions that allow our bodies to express normal health. Everybody knows that. You can't argue it. Chiropractic fits right in line with those things. Proper joint motion is so much more important. I guess let's put it this way. You are better off if your spine is moving appropriately than if it is not. You are more appropriate. You are better off and healthier if you have less stress than more stress. We all know that. We could go down the rabbit hole, and most people don't really care about this, but what people have to understand is your brain recognizes stress as stress. If you are working in a job that's really stressful, you're working 60 hours a week and you have deadlines, you got people screaming at you, and maybe you're working on Wall Street, your body will produce a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol in short terms is meant to protect us. In long terms, it breaks our heart down. Cortisol is what causes heart problems, right? Cortisol is a bad thing in large amounts for a long period of time. Your brain doesn't know the difference between working on Wall Street or the fifth cervical isn't moving appropriately. It just understands stress. So it's going to try to correct that stress one way or the other. So the less stress we have on us, the healthier we're going to be long term. Chiropractic removes the stress from our spines, which then removes the stress from our nervous systems, which then allows the brain to communicate to the tissue cell without interference. Yes. Do we have time for an example?
Keep going, baby.
Of this?
Keep going. Yeah.
Okay. Now listen. So I'll try to make this not a long story, but I want everybody listening to this to understand. Years ago, I had a little boy come to me, 4 years old. He was literally dying of asthma. His skin was coming off. If you hit his arm, he would tear. He was on 13 different medications. Now picture this, 4-year-old, 13 different medications, breathing treatments. He was using a rescue inhaler, adult rescue inhaler. You only use that when you can't breathe, twice a day. He had not left the home other than to go to the doctor for 2 years because he was that sick. His mother did not believe in chiropractic. Matter of fact, she was told all these horror stories. She hated chiropractors, really. But everybody from her church were bringing their kids to see me. And so they said, what do you got to lose? Bryce is on his way out. They're killing him with these drugs. She brings him in. I take an x-ray of a 4-year-old, which I rarely do. But at this point in my career, I have never seen a child this sick in my office. Chalk gray, listless, drugged, couldn't breathe. It was horrible. Brother, I took an x-ray, and his atlas, instead of sitting flat with a brainstem going through it, was sitting almost completely sideways. I'm sure that it happened during delivery. Yeah. That he had a 4-step delivery. Anyway, I set him, laid him on the table, and I adjust the top bone in his neck. I put motion in it. And his mother was standing here that didn't believe in what I was doing. His aunt, her sister that was bringing her kids, was standing there. So we had witness. It looked like pink was poured in his face. All the pink came back. On the way home from that visit, Bryce started throwing up, violently throwing up. He filled the entire floorboard full of just puke. Went and got home. Now, most people would panic, think, oh, my stroke, whatever. No, his body was rejecting the medications.
Yeah.
It was getting it out of his system. He went home. He took a nap for 2 hours. He woke up and asked if he could go outside and play. His mother looked at him and he looked so normal. She let him play for the first time in 2 years. Now, here's why I'm telling you this story. He was 4 years old. He has 3 brothers and sisters. And he from that first adjustment, he is the healthiest kid in the family, and he was never sick a day since. From that first adjustment, we corrected it. Matter of fact, he is 26 years old now, and I am adjusting his wife and his baby, right? Crazy. Now, okay, so miracle story, chiropractic, blah, blah, blah. But that's not why I'm telling the story. Quickly, a little girl, Aniston, I adjusted the day she's born. I adjusted her parents, adjusted mom through the whole pregnancy. I adjusted Aniston in the hospital the day she was born. I adjusted her all the way through, and I would stand her up. And then I remember the first day she came in and crawled up on my table, said, I do it. It broke my heart because I was used to picking her up. Then I remember when she came in and I looked, I said, where's your mom? Oh, I drove. Oh my gosh, she's 16. Doc, I got to tell you something. I'm getting married. What? You're a baby. No, she's 21 years old. Doc, I'm pregnant. So I just adjusted her baby. Now, here's why I tell you this. Sick, dying 4-year-old. Aniston, adjusted her the day she was born. She's never been sick a day in her life. Her whole life, she's been coming in to get chiropractic adjustments, and she's never been sick. She's never missed school. She's not missed work. She's had occasional colds like everybody else. That's not being sick. She's never been sick. So you tell me how important a chiropractic adjustment is through the entire life. That's the greatest explanation and definition of why we need to continue care that I can give you.
Those are amazing. And I just want to bring everybody back a few minutes when Dr. Tim mentioned the Atlas. We're talking shop and to you.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
But no, it's good. But the Atlas is the top bone in the neck, right? Named after the guy at Rockefeller Center, right? Holding the world on his shoulders, the metaphor, that the brain there. And he mentioned the brain stem sits in the Atlas. That controls organ function. They call that the master nerve. So
it controls everything, yeah.
Yeah. So removing that interference, something as powerful and as simple as a specific adjustment, saved a life. You really got to think about how powerful that is. It turned on life.
And then it saved a life, but then maintaining proper motion allowed life to express that. So Aniston never experienced disease. So which is a greater miracle? The one that had the disease removed, or the one that never experienced it in the first place?
Both.
Right?
Yeah.
Both. Exactly.
Yeah. It's an amazing story. And I'll just add one little story. As a chiropractic student, I went on a humanitarian trip to Africa. And I would make it a short story, but it's very similar. It wasn't with a child. It was with an older woman. They came in the hospital we were in, if you can picture this, was in a mountain in the middle of Morocco, in the middle of nowhere. Hours and hours to drive there. And we ultimately had people in tents waiting to see us, to get adjusted. And this woman comes in. Her face is the opposite of chalk. It looks like a fire engine. No English. They took her blood pressure. They did it. The people in the hospital sent her in, and they showed me the paper. They broken English, and I looked at 210 over 110 was her blood pressure, which is, as a chiropractic, get ready to graduate, but as a student looking at that going, I'm told this is really, no, send them to the hospital. But they were in the hospital now coming to us as the chiropractor. And I asked the lead clinician, I said, Doc, what should I do? He goes, let me ask you a question. What are you trained to do? I said, okay, gotcha. It sunk in. So we performed a very specific, same area, Atlas adjustment. She didn't speak English. She just put a smile on her face after. Her color just, it was a shift within seconds, changed. She walked over to the hospital staff. They took the blood pressure again. It was 140 over 90. That was my first ever so-called crisis-based miracle that I'd ever seen. And I said, "Oh my God, I'm just scratching the surface and the power of what we do." So whether it's me getting adjusted since birth and being able to do the things I've done and be healthy for so long, or this woman or the child, the power is so amazing, and it humbles
The
me
power
all
is
the
amazing.
time.
And this is what everybody has to understand. You hear these things and don't get confused. We don't treat asthma. We don't treat
Mm-hmm.
blood pressure. We
Mm-hmm.
don't do those things. What we did was, and what you did was, you recognized that there was an interference. The brain was trying to regulate the organ function. The brain was trying to regulate blood pressure,
Mm-hmm.
and there was an interference. There was stress on the nervous
Mm-hmm.
system, and it wasn't able to communicate. You just removed the stress. The brain said, "Thank you. Now I can do my job." It's so simple in principle and application, but it's such a beautiful thing that we get to do. And this is what happens. What's crazy is people almost take it for granted. I have had patients that have all these health conditions and they've seen 10 other doctors that can't help them. But then they come in my office and they
Mm-hmm.
expect me to fix them right now. I know you can do this. But why can't 10 real doctors not help them? But the chiropractor is supposed to, because they know that what we do is that powerful.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask the last question, but I think you answered it in the last story. Is chiropractic care suitable for children? Was step one, which we know the answer is yes at this point, and pregnant women.
Oh my gosh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to give you the best example. I've been taking care of pregnant women and children for 30 years, but I have a daughter, my middle child, Alicia. Her practice is literally almost walking distance from mine. She's only been in practice 7 years. In one day, she saw 78 pregnant women in one day. She is right now in her clinic seeing, they're pushing between 500 and 600 patients a week. She has every OBGYN, a doula, midwife, several pediatricians, several pediatric physical therapists, moms groups referring every baby. She saw 140 new babies last month. She can't
Wow.
keep up with her practice. And she sees kids with every condition that she can, from autism to developmental issues to whatever it may be. She's so busy, she can't keep up with the babies and the pregnant women. And here's what she tells him. People think, and I listened to her, I stood behind her. This is my little girl. I'm so proud of her. I stood behind her at a health fair, and people would come up and ask her questions. And she would say this. She would say, people think that you go to a chiropractor for back pain. That's not what I do. I am not interested in back pain. I am interested in proper function of your neurology. I am interested in your nervous system and your baby's nervous system and your children's nervous system to function without interference. Because if the nervous system is functioning, everything else will function. That's what I do. And if that's what you're interested in, then I can help you. She can't keep up. And I want everybody to understand that your baby, someone asked me one time, I get this asked a lot, why would a newborn need to be adjusted? And I asked the mother this question: how did that feel upon delivery? Okay, I don't ever want to feel that pain again. A lot of pressure, wasn't there? Yes. Think about what he went through. Think about the amount of stress just being delivered. And then you got these nurses all over the place. But then just the stress of crawling and walking and falling and all those things. Someone asked me, why would a 4-year-old need chiropractic? Have you ever watched one? Watch what they do in a day. It's like a
Yeah.
ping pong ball, right? And so if it has a spine, chiropractic care is appropriate from birth to earth. I have a friend here in town, Jordan Whitley. He's one of the top animal chiropractors in the world. He travels to Africa. He's adjusted giraffes, boa constrictors, birds, dolphins. It's the craziest thing. They bring animals to his clinic, and these animals, and I used to adjust horses. I would have horses, when I pulled up into the driveway, would run across the pasture and lean over the fence to get their adjustment. They couldn't wait to get their adjustment. Innately, chiropractic
Yeah.
is the most appropriate the appropriate care for all of us from the time you're born to your last breath. Last thing, I had a patient one time come in, and she was one of my very first patients. And she got cancer, and when she came to the door, her daughter was standing behind her, and she mouthed the words, "This will be her last visit." And I'm looking at Jean in her eyes, and she's looking up and smiling, and my heart was so tore. I was great to see her, but I knew this was her last time I would ever see her. She came in, and I adjusted her and sent her on her way, sent her to the next place she was going to with an adjustment. She told her daughter, and this is what I heard later, that I know that my time is up, but I want to get it adjusted before I go. One of the greatest honors that I ever received was that last adjustment to send her to her next home. She knew that was what she needed. And I've adjusted babies 15 minutes old, and I adjusted a lady that passed on just a few hours, actually it was the next day. So from birth to earth, chiropractic is appropriate for you.
All right, I think that's a great place to finish. That's really powerful. So Dr. Tim Young, tell the audience, people are listening from everywhere, and I know your town knows you already, but people may be willing to drive or fly to see you. So where's the best place for people to find you?
So I'm in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and you could go on my email address is movingbones.com. So it's MVNBONZ@yahoo.com. I'm on Facebook. I get tons and tons of messages on Facebook, on Messenger. And even if you don't want to come to Oklahoma City, I work with chiropractors nationwide and worldwide. And I do this all the time. If you reach out to me, I will know somebody in your area that I trust that'll be an appropriate chiropractor, and I will do everything I can to find you the right person. So I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, but I'm damn near 60 years old. I don't even know how to use Instagram well. I'm the old guy on Facebook. But if you Google my name, if you Google Tim Young Chiropractor in Google, a ton of stuff will come up. You can follow some of my videos, and whatever you want to do, just reach out. I'd be honored to help anybody at any time.
All right. With that, everybody, I want to thank all of you for listening and watching. And remember, you never know how far-reaching something you think, say, or do will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. I'm Dr. Josh Handt. This is the Human Power Life Podcast. See you on the next episode. Did you know that over 60% of Americans suffer from chronic health challenges like fatigue, weight gain, and metabolic issues? At Team Make Wellness, we understand that staying healthy feels harder than ever, but there's a better way. Our bioactive precision peptides are designed to enhance energy, reduce stress, and support fat loss, helping you feel better from the inside out. Imagine feeling energized, focused, and in control of your health. With Team Make Wellness, it's possible. Whether you're recovering from workouts, managing weight, or just want to feel better every day, our peptides deliver science-backed results you can trust. Take the first step to transforming your health today. Visit lifestylelocker.com/peptides to download your free guide and discover how peptides can unlock your best self. Once again, that's lifestylelocker.com/peptides.